The high performance compute is executed on special purpose accelerators. And that's what we are doing.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? My name is Mike Hopkins. I am an intellectual property attorney. I use AI a little bit in my day-to-day work, but more of what I do is assist my clients in understanding this, relatively new landscape we're in the legal and AI intersection in largely intellectual property, but also some of the other areas where it's getting used in their business. So that's where I come in here.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay too? No. Hello? There you go. All right. So, good morning. My name is Alex Ruiz. I wear a couple different hats. I was an entrepreneur in cybersecurity. I just sold my company. And these days, I wear two main hats. One is a fractional COO. I work with startups, helping them scale and grow their operations. And second, I'm representing La Familia Foundation. We are a non-for-profit that works with Latin entrepreneurs and Latin VCs to help the entrepreneurs get their next round, get the tools that they need to be successful, and help Latin to get into VC, to get promoted, and eventually get their own funds. So a little bit of everything. And so I work with AI companies directly, and we also foster a lot of AI companies in the Latin entrepreneurship ecosystem.
Hi, everybody. My name is Raj Prasad. I am going to be honest with you. I didn't want to have a real career, so I did everything I could not to have one. Somehow I became a consultant, then a fractional CMO, and now I work on two AI companies. I don't know how that happened. That was not the plan, I swear, but it did. And so my job actually involves using AI quite a bit for messaging, positioning, and using it in day-to-day responsibilities to speed us up and do iterations faster.
Thank you, guys. A lot has been said about AI, and AI is changing and evolving every day, and we are watching that. How is that been changing your role and your industry?
Well, for me specifically, so marketing is a function of putting buyers together with products and services. Creating messaging is super important, and also is tactical deployment. So AI for me specifically has been really useful in taking one idea. So let's say I create a general PowerPoint, I feed it into AI, and I get it to understand what I'm trying to sell. And from there, I'll delineate by different verticals, by different sales strategies, by different sales hooks, and I use AI as a sounding board and first draft creator for what I'm trying to achieve. And that ultimately has been super beneficial, because what that does is I'm able to take one AI product that the company I work for currently, one of them is Dane Health. We do assessments for brain ailments that are hidden. And these hidden brain ailments actually have a 16% decrease in productivity in corporations worldwide. So our job is to take this product into multiple verticals, multiple industries, multiple companies, and speak their language. What are they going to value the most? And that's one of the places AI has been super beneficial.
AI is amazing right now. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're at a startup, this is a great time to be starting a company or be scaling an organization. Right? You can use AI to get your MVP out the door, to code it. You can use AI to go market your product in a much more efficient way. And if you're in multiple countries, I can leverage AI to do customer service, to change languages. And so in the companies that I work with, I'm just seeing AI being utilized more and more to really speed things up at a lower cost. So when you think about Latin America especially, which traditionally there's been difficulty in getting capital, now you're seeing all these startups pop up because they're able to get going faster and more efficient. So AI has been amazing over the last couple of years.
So in the legal world, I think a lot of what is really interesting is the uncertainty surrounding AI. So, I mean, AI has been around for a long time, but it really hasn't hit the mainstream public until the last few years. And now the legal world is kind of trying to figure out where to go with it. So in my work, I do a lot of intellectual property work, and the patent office has come out and said, AI cannot be an inventor, and AI cannot create a copyrighted work. So the question that has to be resolved and figured out over the coming years is how much human involvement has to be included in the use of AI to create something that makes that work copyrightable or makes that invention patentable.
Yeah, we use AI internally extensively because very simply it allows us to shift boring work away from people who are creative and well paid and are in the business of designing chips and not writing the same stuff over and over and over again with marginal modifications to them. So we use it internally and it has boosted productivity by quite a bit. We have not used generative AI to come up with new ideas because ultimately in chip design, I don't think AI is there yet. It will at some point in time. I don't think now is the time yet. And we probably see that in software design first, and then it might migrate to chip design a bunch of years later. But it already has a very profound impact.
Awesome. And what's next? What about the future? What are the things that you guys think or believe that will be here in the future? They are not here right now because of AI.
Well, for us, we use AI as a tool, right? And I think a lot of people misunderstand AI and they make it out to be this terrible thing that takes away the jobs for everybody. And I don't think that's the case. At this point in time, it really is a tool. It is one of the many tools that a chip designer should have in his or her repertoire because very simply, at this point in time, as I said, it takes away the boring parts of the task and it allows the designer, the chip designer, the engineer to be vastly more creative to come up with better solutions for a chip that solves a particular problem. And that's the way we use it. In the future, it will be different, and I think it will pick up a lot more things that will probably still not make it creative, but it will allow AI to be a more versatile tool in the tool set of any chip designer. That's what we are foreseeing, and that's the way we treat it. And as I said, it is one of the many tools.
Yeah, I would agree that AI is a great tool right now. I know we use it to, double check some of the work we have done, and I think, kind of as Axel implied, is that it's moving towards where it's going to be able to start generating some of the things, the initial work product that we are dealing with, and I think that's kind of where it's going.
This is something we talk a lot about, especially in entrepreneurship. So right now, to borrow a cybersecurity term, because I'm in cybersecurity, or was, AI is a lot about man in the middle, the way I see it. It's making people more efficient. It's helping us do things faster, research, legal, all these other components. I think in the near future, what I'm excited about is that it's going to start doing things for us without needing as much intervention. So think about marketing. Right now, I can leverage AI to create a campaign, give me images, help me run it more efficiently, gather data. In the not too near future, I can actually just say, I have $100, go get me some customers using either different marketing methods, right? And to actually have AI do that, it's going to be a profound shift in how we work. And so I do disagree a little bit with you, Axel, on that. I think that the opportunity for a lot of job displacement to happen in the near term is coming at us a lot faster.
I have a product. It's called Clever Crow AI. It does exactly what you just talked about. It'll tell you what you need to do for advertising. Shameless plug, thank you. Do I get paid extra to pass the mic back and forth? Okay, so I'll give you two parts, and I'm going to build on what Alex just said, is the version of AI you see today is not truly intelligent. It's generative, it's predictive, and it's not really AI. Some marketing guy like me or girl like me decided they were going to go in and they're going to call this artificial intelligence. What you know as artificial intelligence today is more so intelligence augmentation. So, if you look at AI, it will predict what you're going to say next. I am not a thermophysics dynamic, I can't even say it right. What I'm trying to say is I'm not a smart person. So I can't go in and start talking about physics with OpenAI's ChatGPT product because I will have no sort of validation system against it. But I am the ultimate marketer. So me and AI, when we sit down and chat, our marketing conversations are one step higher than you would have if we were talking about physics. So think about that for your life right now. What do you do that you're really good at? Now imagine artificial intelligence coming in and enhancing every aspect of that, because that's what's going on. I started just telling my clients 6 months ago that I use AI. Prior to that, I was billing them full rate and took on the risk and just went through with it. Now, long-term question, the world that we know is going to be gone. And that's the reality of it. Think about this from the concept of, and some of you probably weren't born when this happened, but email was not a thing until like 1997. Before that, people were writing letters. No one writes letters anymore. Same way, some of the jobs that can be done through AI. So for example, you always thought that when you filled out that form, it was understanding what you were filling out. It wasn't. It was just pulling information. But now it understands what you're filling out. So in time, customer service, cooking jobs are disappearing because now you can put LLM into robotics and get it to understand that, hey, it's burning, flip it. So there is this whole shift that's going to happen. Now, with that said, there's going to be a new world here. We're probably going to do space travel. Most sci-fi techno nerds will tell you need AI for warp drives. I don't know what a warp drive is, so if somebody wants to tell me later, feel free. We'll probably do some really amazing things in science and some really amazing things in technology. So if AI doesn't blow up the world to save itself from us, then I think we have this world coming that will be very sci-fi, and it's going to happen faster than you think. That's the other one.
I believe that. And picking up on your answer, what are the challenges that you guys see? The biggest challenge that you guys see in the near future that AI is bringing to our society?
It's going to be a shift, a huge shift. For me personally, I have a problem with AI right now in only one context, and that is I am taking jobs away from people I want to pay. As a business owner, I do like to make lots of profit, but I also like having a team and people to talk to and being part of society. That's the biggest pain coming. The biggest pain is this transitional period where we're going to shift from this world, and once again, some of you are too young to remember this, but when we switched from the analog world to the digital world, stuff was a little rowdy for a while. And it will happen again, but this time around it's going to be, I think, very massive.
To build on that, right, I think that there was a study by one of the big consulting companies where they actually leveraged AI for their consultants. And they found out that for their top 10, 20% consultants, AI made them about 10, 15% better. So it was marginal, but it was good. For the mid-tier consultants, AI made them like 30% better. So significant. So for the mid-tier consultants, AI made them about 30% better. But for the bottom-tier consultants, it made them like 50, 60% better. Because it was about research, synthesizing data, gathering it, putting it out in a way that was understandable by others. And so I say this because these types of improvements, you're going to see those across industries. What that means is that you'll need fewer people to do some of these things. And so that's why I think that in the short term, there's going to be a lot of messiness. Right? But at the same time, I think that there is some hope, which is not exactly your question. There's also been another study in the medical field where they actually looked at AI-driven questionnaires and chatbots. And they realized that when asking somebody health and personal questions, people were more apt to be truthful and tell them about their sexual history, all these other things that people might be worried about giving. And so AI actually, in that field, is becoming something that's giving people much better access to healthcare and information. So I think that on both sides, it's more efficient, but also there's a lot of promise in what's happening.
Yeah, I think what's going to be really interesting is just how a lot of the government organizations start responding to the widespread use of artificial intelligence by everybody in the workforce. I've already talked about the intellectual property side of things, but it's being used everywhere. And for example, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is starting to make mandates about the use of AI in an equal way in an equal way, and it's also there's a lot of data privacy and cybersecurity concerns that need to be figured out in the use of AI, and it's going to be interesting to see if some of these governmental organizations start to try to constrain how it's used and how powerful it could be because of some of these concerns.
Yeah, I have a much more positive outlook on society, particularly when I look at what the potential of AI is. To me, society has always gone through very, very drastic transitions. So when agriculture became mechanized, first was the concern, what do we do with all these people who now are not employable anymore? And guess what? They became employable in fields that required more focus on education, on science, and on everything related to that, including the engineering behind the mechanized agriculture, right? And then we had the issue of literally every single time where the human brain was sort of involved, right? So if you think back, the monks copied books. And when we invented the book press, the concern was that the monks would all be out of work. And guess what happened? More books were available to more people. It had a positive impact on society because more people now could afford more books on science and on engineering. And guess what? Science and engineering made huge progress, right? So every single time we think about what's the impact of something on society, we always figure out a way to make it positive and to make a positive impact on society. And literally, if you look at it, every single thing we invent has the potential for dual use, right? You can use a hammer to do something good, and you can use a hammer to do something bad, right? The same is true for AI. And I can guarantee you that if we all focus on the good side of what AI can do for humankind, it will be a good thing for society. That's what I'm working towards, because ultimately the genie's out of the bottle, so we can't stop it. We can't put it back in. Now is the time to figure out what to do with it to make sure that it benefits society versus the negative impacts it could have, right? So we need to look at both, and we need to make sure that we as a society can understand the impact and can make it a positive thing for society.
Awesome. And about the legal side, what are the legal issues that you guys have been seeing, or you see in the future that AI will come up?
So there's a ton. Can you hear me? That sounds better, yes. So it's really in everything. I've talked about intellectual property and whether you can use AI to create a patentable invention or copyrightable work. There's also going to be issues involved. A lot of the litigation currently in the intellectual property side is these open AIs of the world are being sued for their scraping of the internet and the potential copyright infringement involved in the training of their AI models. And I think the way a lot of that is resolved is going to have a big impact on whether and how some of these AI models that are so promising can be trained. And if it goes the wrong way, could it turn out that really hampers and slows down the development of some of these models that are helping everyone at this point?
Can you? Oh, hey, I should have been using this one all along. Okay, so just to follow up on that, I think being in kind of the teen space, working with a lot of minorities and others, I think one of the biggest things is bias in AI. Right? All these models are still being trained, whether they're LLMs, machine vision, all these other pieces, and they're only as good as the data that they're being fed at the moment. And so one of the biggest things from both a legal as well as cultural standpoint is how do you make sure that the people that are doing that are taking into account all these other pieces, right? Because the users, the people affected by those don't necessarily look like the people that are training them. Right? And so for me, especially working with a lot of these Latin American companies, is how do you encourage more of that diversity in the folks that are creating the tooling, the pipes right now that eventually will be that future that Axel is talking about. And I think making sure that we're doing that responsibly now before you need government to step in, I think is a big piece of it.
For me personally, there is no legal issues. Everything it produces is perfect and brand new, and it's my work. I made it. So yeah, it's their problem. The logo that it made for me that looks like the Chick-fil-A logo is my logo. I made that. But that I think is the bigger problem here is the biggest problem legally that I see with AI is at what point does the idea it comes up with, if it's new, who does that truly belong to? I'm not comfortable putting, I have my own personal versions of LLMs that I use and train and model, and that's one thing. But when it comes to OpenAI, when it comes to everybody, yes, I trust OpenAI probably more than I should trust a technology company, but there's things that I've seen that, yeah, I trust those guys to build out AGI. That won't kill us. But the fact of the matter is, when you put something into that system, and let's say it produces $1 trillion idea or discovers how to do wormholes, who does that belong to? And it got to the wormhole, but it needed all the studies and data and research that was done by some of the brightest minds in the world. Why are they not benefiting off of it? And the thing that makes it even more complicated is, how do you know what it used when they used it? Because if you've ever trained an LLM, you know that, right? Like, here's a dump of information, input, output. No, obviously, overly simplifying this. Input, output, and it just starts reading it. So I think giving people their due worth is going to be the biggest thing going forward. Now, with that said, once everybody in this room starts using AI the way you use your phones, your email, your smart TVs, right? These are all things that you didn't have 20 years ago, but you adopted them. Now, once everybody's creating these ideas using AI, whose idea is it? So I think that's where we're going to have a couple of issues, but I would have sold and cast out and been long gone to Fiji by then, so that's everybody else's problem.
Axel, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think that points to a dilemma that we have at this point in time, because OpenAI only got to where it is right now because they scraped pretty much every website that there is without permission, right? And so while that got us to the point where we are today, the question now is, what do we need to do to retain the copyright of those people that put all this stuff together that's on the web today, right? And I can tell you, because I monitor my website very regularly, despite the fact that we have an entry in the robots.txt file, we see the bot from OpenAI come by regularly, right? And that's not okay, right? I mean, I don't mind in the first few years them scraping stuff, but at some point in time, they have to be willing and able to compensate those people that created the contents that they scraped, right? And so that's why I believe the suit that the New York Times had against OpenAI was more than justified, because you can't just go and take somebody else's IP. But I'm pretty sure this will all be sorted out, and at some point in time, the New York Times and all of the other organizations that were scraped will be paid. And that's just the way it's going to be, because ultimately, even if you don't have a subscription to the New York Times, you can still go to the website and gather some information about what's going on in the world. And that is, I mean, not everything on the New York Times is free. I'm just taking New York Times as an example here, but ultimately it's true for every news organization, right? So they spend money to get the news to you. Some of it will be available to you for free. Other parts won't. So that's something that we as a society and everybody who's involved in the legal system clarifying what the copyright needs to be, we'll sort it out, we'll figure it out, we'll make it work, and hopefully everybody gets paid properly, right? And that's the way it has to go.
Awesome, beautiful insights. I guess we are on time. And I just want to ask you where can our audience get in touch with you and follow you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have a website, abacus-sami.com. There's a lot of information on there, including a blog. Good part of that is discussed on the blog, particularly when it comes to copyright and the technology we need on the hardware level to get to more workable and more energy efficient AI compared to what we have today. There's a whole bunch of other discussions. I'm on LinkedIn as well, so feel free to connect on LinkedIn. I think everybody probably gets something out of a discussion with what we all as a society need to do to get AI to be useful to us.
So my name is Mike Hopkins. I'm with the law firm Shepherd Mullen. I'm on the website, so you can Google that and find me. I don't have a URL for you off the top of my head, but I'll also be wandering around the conference for the rest of the day, so feel free to stop me, bug me, ask me any questions you have. I'll happily answer any of them.
So similar to Michael, you can stop me. I would love a conversation, but I've been around the block for a little while, so I have Alex Ruiz at Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, you name it. And you could also reach me at La Familia Foundation. I'm Alex at La Familia Foundation.
Once again, my name is Raj Prasad. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can follow me to the brewery across the street because I'm going to go have a beer. But yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. My company website is wdfadigital.com. And for anybody who's thinking about AI, the one thing I want to leave you with is 15, 20 years ago, if you learned how to use Excel and you understood the formulas, you didn't care how Excel put the formulas together, you just cared what the output of the formula was. Same thing applies with AI, especially if you run small businesses. You want to be competitive, you're going to need AI in every aspect of your business. Don't put in your accounting firms yet, but jump in now before the bigger guys like Axel's company just take over and just leave us all behind. So thank you. It was a joy talking to you all.
Thank you, guys. Give me the hand.